My friend, my brother, Pastor Marvin Wiley, when he comes, I want you to stand to your feet and receive him.
For the story of Daniel is a strong display of divine intervention, suggesting to you and me that whenever we get in trouble, God will come to the rescue. Now, the book of Daniel introduces us to Daniel really not in chapter 6, but rather in chapter 1. And you really won't appreciate what happens to Daniel in chapter 6 until you look at Daniel in chapter 1. It is in chapter 1 that we are first introduced to this character that we've come to know as Daniel. He becomes an exile, a captive, a prisoner of war. For chapter 1 says that Nebuchadnezzar, in fury and rage, descends upon Jerusalem while Jehoiakim, in his third year of reign and rule, was on the throne. Nebuchadnezzar, that ruthless leader, descends on Jerusalem and takes Jerusalem captive. As a matter of fact, when you get home, you ought to read chapter 1. For it simply says that Nebuchadnezzar besieged Jerusalem. He broke down the walls of Jerusalem. He burned up the gates of Jerusalem. And then in audacity, he takes the golden vessels out of the temple of God and takes them to Shinar, to his own temple where his gods were served. He takes certain of the citizenry back to Babylon. He instructs Aponaz to take those who were well favored of the king's seed, of a princely heritage, in whom there was no blemish, those that were skillful in all wisdom, cunning in knowledge, and had the ability to understand science, which was astrology in that day. Those who could be taught the language, the literature, and the law of the Chaldeans. Among those that were selected were a fellow by the name of Daniel, who they changed his name to Belteshazzar. Hananiah, who we know as Shadrach. Mishael, who we know as Meshach. And Azariah, who we know as Abednego. They marched them across this weariless wasteland, thousands of miles from home. Boys of influence, boys of integrity, boys of intelligence. Now, it appears by the reading of the text that Daniel is catapulted to the leadership of all that are taken. When we get to chapter 1, we see them change citizenship. We see them change cultures. We even see them change cities. But the one thing that Daniel does not change is his God. I looked at all of the credentials that was found in these boys by Ashpenaz. And I discovered, my brothers and sisters, that far as man is concerned, these are worthy accomplishments to be applauded. But there was something about Daniel that was different than all of the others that were marched from Jerusalem to Babylon, because even though Ashpenaz saw a lot in him, God saw some more. And when you look at the life of Daniel, you will discover that Daniel had a greater distinction. Why is it, my brothers and sisters? First of all, you will notice that the king decided that he would give all of his subjects and slaves a diet. But chapter 1 verse 8 says that Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the meat of the king. So first of all, let me suggest to you what distinguished Daniel from all of the rest. is that Daniel, first of all, was a man of purpose. The problem with so many people tonight, they have not discovered their purpose. That's the reason that they're miserable. That's the reason that they are envious of other people. That's the reason that they are jealous, my brothers and sisters. That's why they're hating and not celebrating. Talk with me a little while. Simply because they have not discovered their own purpose. And I need to tell you tonight, until you discover your purpose, you will always be miserable. And maybe you need to help me preach this thing and turn around and tell somebody you ought to discover your purpose. So first of all, Daniel was a man of purpose. For the text says he purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the meat that the king did give. He was a man of purpose. Now, what separates some people from other people is not intelligence. It's not money. It's really not where you live and where you came up. It might be that what separates some people from other people is simply this: they've learned to operate within the framework of God-given purpose. And what I need to tell you tonight is, whenever you have purpose in your life, the Bible declares that your gift will make room for you. It is a word that you don't ever have to make room for your gift. Your gift will make room for you. In essence, you never have to push yourself on program. I'm a living witness. If you ever discover your purpose, God will pre-plan the program around you. Gonna get a little better in here. Out of everything else you ought to know your purpose. You ought to know your purpose. Moved from Jerusalem to Babylon, but he didn't lose sight of his purpose. And the problem with many individuals are they are simply trying to operate outside of their purpose. Kind of like that individual on the road that drives in all lanes, that causes wrecks, and then looks through the rear view mirror and says, oh, it's a wreck by there. Yes, you caused it. You will never go anywhere. You will never be successful. You will always be living from pillar to post if you don't know your purpose. You'll always be a failure, always be miserable without purpose. Talk with me a little while. Because Daniel knew his purpose, the king, after communing with Daniel, communed with them so long that he discovered that wasn't nobody like Daniel. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. As a matter of fact, when you read chapter 1, he discovers that they are 10 times better than all of the other astrologers and magicians in Babylon, simply because he was a man of purpose. And thank God we get these words, because he was a man of purpose. When you look at chapter 1, verse 21, and Daniel continued. Now, if you're a good preacher, you wouldn't want to run over verse 21. Because it simply says that though kings came and went, Daniel kept going. He was really like the ever ready bunny. He went on and on and on. Even though magicians changed, Daniel continued. Even though my brothers and sisters astrologers went, Daniel continued. Nebuchadnezzar will leave the throne, but Daniel will continue. Belshazzar left the throne, but Daniel continued. Darius left the throne, but Daniel continued. Cyrus left the throne, but Daniel continued. And if you want to continue, you've got to be a person of purpose. Well, let me just drop it. I won't push it. Many have come and gone, but Campbell has continued. Ushers have come and gone, but he's still here, y'all. Choir directors have come and gone, but he's still here. Mothers have left the scene, but he's still here. Nurses have gone, but he's still here. Deacons have left, but he's still here. Simply because he is a man of for 60 long years he continued. And if you want to continue, you got to be, first of all, a person of purpose. Well, not only does a person of purpose, man of purpose, distinguish him, he was a man of perception. And I need to tell you today that if you're going to continue, you've got to be perceptive. It's really seen in chapter 2. I'm working my way up to chapter 6. It includes, my brothers and sisters, that here is Daniel, who the Lord has given the gift of perception. Really, we call it discernment. For he was given the ability to interpret dreams. And I need to tell you tonight that in this life, you need to be able to have perception and discernment. Because a whole lot of people will make you think they're with you that ain't with you. And you need to figure out what's really on the inside. They look good on the outside, but they're like raving wolves on the inside. You've got to have perception. Every morning when I wake up, I tell the Lord, whatever else you do for me, give me power in preaching, but give me perception. Nobody like Daniel, man of perception. As a matter of fact, he was the only one that was able to interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dream. He got caught up because Nebuchadnezzar was about to slay all of the wise men of Babylon. Ironic tells Daniel about it, and Daniel gets Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and said, fellas, we better go to praying. We done got caught up in a bad situation. They fall on their knees, and the Bible says the next morning, God revealed the dream unto Daniel. I take note of that, my brothers and sisters, because all of them were praying, but didn't one man get the answer to the prayer. That simply says to you and me that God is an orderly God. He doesn't speak to everybody. Talk with me a little while. He spoke to Daniel, and because Daniel was able to interpret the dream, the Bible tells us that he was blessed. In 2:46, the king falls on his face and worships Daniel. In 2:48, he acknowledges that Daniel's God is the God of gods. In 2:48, he gives him great gifts and makes him a great man. And then in 2:48, he makes him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, chief of the governors, over the whole wise men. Watch Daniel as he moves from a slave to a servant, from a servant to a steward, and that's when all hell broke loose. You see, as long as he was a slave, didn't nobody care about that. As long as he was a subject, nobody cared about Daniel. But just as soon as Daniel became a steward of the blessings of God that had fallen from the hands of Nebuchadnezzar, all of a sudden he began to find himself in one bad situation after another. Well, where did it all start? I need to suggest to you it didn't start, first of all, with Daniel. It really started with Daniel's friend. And that's a word to somebody here today, that when Satan can't get you, he tries to get your friend. Talk with me a little while. Is there anybody here tonight that Satan has tried to get you, and since he couldn't get you, he started with your family and your friends? I wish I had somebody that would just walk with me. I'm trying to make my way up to. It all started when King Nebuchadnezzar, he decided that he would build a great statue out in the plains of Dura. He built a statue, called the band, and said, I'm going to tell them to hit up the favorite number of the day. And whenever they hit up the favorite number of the day, I want everybody to bow down. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego decided they were not going to bow. And evil men went to the king and simply said to him, listen, man, those boys that you brought out of Jerusalem, that's been eating off of your table and living in your house. We were out in the plains of Dura. You struck the band up, told everybody to bow, and those three boys stood straight. Oh, my brothers and sisters, my problem with it is, how did they know who didn't bow if they were bowed? And so maybe you need to turn to somebody and tell them people ought to just stay out of other people's business. It's like that on your job. How do other people know you ain't working if they working? Talk with me a little while. It is even through this that the Lord begins to elevate. The king has another dream that only the Lord allows Nebuchadnezzar, allowed Daniel to interpret. My brothers and sisters, the writer declares that because of the interpretation of another dream, under the reign of Belteshazzar, that Daniel is elevated. He's gotten a scarlet robe. They put a chain of gold around his neck. They give him leadership and reign and rule in the kingdom. And Daniel says this: I will not take the position unless you cause Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to arise also. It is a word to somebody here tonight that if you think you're going to be successful by yourself, you're going to find yourself climbing the ladder of success, but it's going to be the wrong ladder. You see, whenever the Lord blesses you, you ought to turn around and try to bless somebody else. I heard Daniel say, no, I want position and popularity. That's all right, but I want my friends to have the same thing happen to them. Because Daniel was a man of purpose and perception, you will notice he becomes a man of promotion. Through the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, he's promoted. Through the reign of Belshazzar, he's promoted. Through the reign of Darius, king of the Medes, he's promoted. Over and over again, though the kings change, Daniel keeps on getting promoted. When Darius the Mede comes to the kingdom, in the 6th chapter, Daniel is 80 years old. When we met him in chapter 1, he was about 17 or 20. But one thing that Daniel's mama told him when she waved goodbye in Jerusalem is, boy, whatever else you do, don't forget to pray. King Darius places 120 men over the provinces. The writer declares he places 3 presidents over the 120. Every president had 40 provinces and 40 men under their rule. But you will read the text to discover that Daniel was first. And that's when it started. Because there are a lot of individuals that can't handle your success. They're all right as long as you driving that old car. They're all right as long as you living in the projects. They're all right as long as you on that same old job. They're all right as long as you ain't going nowhere. But I need to suggest to you tonight that there are a lot of people that cannot handle other people's success. It really implies new levels, new devils. I just said something. Fool around, get a promotion on your job. Folk will hate you that you didn't even know work there. I said something. I said new levels, new devils. The higher you get, people began to try to pull you down. New levels, new devils. And if you are not ready for the new devils, you'll never be ready for the new levels. And maybe you need to turn to somebody and tell them, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. I'm ready for levels and devils. Tell the devils to come on, come on, come on, come on. Six and 2, Daniel was first. 6 and 3, he was preferred above all the other presidents and princes. I wondered why, because the text says an excellent spirit was found in Daniel. Can I tell you tonight that if you want promotion and prosperity, you've got to have the spirit of excellence. We've got too many people walking around talking about that will do, no, that won't do. You need a spirit of excellence. He excelled in Babylon on his way to being placed over the whole realm. He's up and coming. Darius is main man. He's devoted, he's disciplined, he's dedicated. And while everybody else was being demoted, Daniel was being promoted. Because promotion doesn't come from the east or the west. It doesn't come from the north or the south. But who here tonight know that promotion comes from the Lord? That it is the Lord that raises us up, and when evil men try to knock us down, God props us up. It appeared that just as soon as Daniel was about to be promoted, they heard Daniel was in for another promotion. They began to discuss, what are the ways that we can get to Daniel? Somebody said, well, let's just start at his political life. Here is Daniel's dilemma. Somebody said, let's check out and see whether or not he's getting kickbacks under the table. Let's check out and see whether he'll take some bribes. But the file came back simply with these big words on it, faithful. So somebody said, well, now there's nothing wrong with his political life. Maybe we can check into his personal life. Because you do know that there are some people that believe that God has given them license to check out your personal life. And somehow they forget that everybody ain't dead that know what they used to do. Talk with me a little while. Everybody ain't dead that know where you hang out. Everybody ain't dead that know who you used to go with or still go with. Talk back with me. Everybody ain't dead that know what you drink. Everybody ain't dead that know where you party. Everybody ain't dead that know what you stole. Talk with me a little while. Because we act like everybody is dead that know about us. But I need to tell you tonight, all of us got some skeletons in our closet that we don't want nobody to know nothing about. Is there anybody in here that got some stuff in your closet that you don't want nobody to know nothing about? Turn around and tell somebody everybody ain't dead that know about it. They kept on looking into his political life. They looked into his personal life. When somebody decided that we're not going to find anything out about his political life, nor about his personal life, but maybe we can find out something about his prayer life. For Daniel's mama had told him, baby, wherever you are, don't forget to pray. And I need to tell you tonight that wherever you go, you need to hear mama's voice. Whatever happens to you in life, keep on falling on bended knees. I hear those old folk in Arkansas saying now, he'll hear your humble cry and he'll answer by and by. Just a little talk with him will make everything all right. The presidents, the governors, the councilors got together. They made up their mind that they were going to find out something. They said the only thing that we can find out is about his prayer life. Those things that are concerning his God. They go, the Bible says, to Darius. They get him to sign a decree that nobody should pray in 30 days unless they prayed unto him as God. My brothers and sisters, the Bible says that they go to Darius and says, we all have agreed. They say, King, live forever, suggesting that two of Satan's strategy is flattery and all out lies. We all have agreed. Daniel will not stop praying for 30 days. The Bible declares that when Darius signs that decree, they see Daniel going into his house as he's always gone there before. When you look at chapter 6 verse 10, they see Daniel falling on bended knees. The Bible says that he goes to that place that he's often gone before. He goes to that secret closet. He opens up his window toward Jerusalem, implying he had a place of prayer. The Bible says he fell on bended knees. That's his posture of prayer. The Bible says that he prayed 3 times a day. That means that there was priority in his praying. And the Bible declares that mixed with his prayer was thanksgiving. For Daniel had some praise in his praying. It implies, my brothers and sisters, that Daniel didn't just ask God for something. He fell on bended knees and thanked God for what he'd already done. And I need to tell you tonight, if you're going to be able to handle the lions of life, you've got to learn how to fall on bended knees and thank God for what he's already done. I heard Philippians 4:6 say the other day, be careful for nothing. Talk with me, but in everything by prayer and supplication. But watch this, stick in a little thanksgiving. Thank him for waking you up in the morning. Thank him for starting you on your journey. Thank him for a roof over your head. Thank him for a little health and strength. Thank him for a little peace of mind. Thank him that your children are doing all right. Thank him for health and strength. Every now and then you need to just tell the Lord, thank you. But then don't stop until you look at these words of 4 times. It implies that Daniel had the passion for prayer. They find Daniel praying. They go back and tell Darius that Daniel. Oh, I take note of those words, that Daniel. Not just Daniel, but that Daniel. The one who you brought out of Jerusalem. That same Daniel is disobeying your decree. That same Daniel that you've elevated in your kingdom has not obeyed your decree. That same Daniel, one, you put a roof over his head. He's not obeying your command. The Bible says that they called Daniel and they put him in the lion's den. The Bible says that Darius tries in vain to get Daniel out of that tough situation. But it is a word tonight that sometime God will let you get in it. But if he lets you get in it, he sure enough will let you get out of it. Is there anybody here that know if God lets you get in it, he sure enough will let you get out of it? I heard the writer declaring that they threw Daniel in the lion's den. Darius the Mede took his ring and sealed the stone with his own seal and the seal of the Lord's. But he made his way back to the palace. He walked the floor all that night. But before he left, he told Daniel, the God whom you serve, he's well able to deliver. Is there anybody here that know the God we serve is well able to deliver? If you're not ashamed to grab somebody by the hand and say, yes, God is able to sure enough deliver. How do you know it? I tried him for myself. Daniel's in the lion's den, but thank God tonight that God himself shut the mouth of the lions. How did he do it? Because Daniel was a man of purpose. Daniel was a man of principles. Daniel was a man of perception. Daniel was a man of prayer. all at night. I feel a little better now. All at night, I can see Daniel talking to the lion, said, come here, lion. I need somewhere to lay my head. Come here, lion. I need somewhere to put my feet. And thank God tonight that the writer of Hebrews 11:33 says that God is able to shut the lion mouth. Early that morning, after walking the floor all night long, Darius, the king of the Medes, made his way back to the lion den, and I heard Darius say, oh, Daniel, are you still here? And I heard Daniel say, in the words of Albertina Walker, I'm still here. After everything I went through all night, I'm still here. Is there anybody here that can testify? You've been in the lion den, but you still here. And that's a word tonight that we serve a God that's able to deliver. I heard Daniel saying, the God I serve, he sent an angel last night and shut the lion mouth. What happened to the enemies of Daniel? I don't want to leave till I tell him Darius the king called for the men that had Daniel put in the lion den, and the Bible declared that they put them in and they lost their life in that same lion den. And that might be a word to somebody here tonight. Fret not thyself against the workers of iniquity, neither be thou envious. They'll soon be cut down like the grass and wither away as the green herb. How soon is soon? I don't know how soon is, but it got to be soon enough, because God said they'll soon be cut down. Is there anybody here? No, God will cut your enemy down. If you know he will, you ought to grab somebody by the hand and say, yes, God will do it. I heard, feeling a little better now. I heard Darius saying, your God whom you serve, he's the living God. And that says a word, he's a real God. But not only is he a real God, he rules heaven and earth. And that says he reigns. But I heard Darius saying, we're going to make your God our God. Unless I close tonight, I can't close until I tell you what the last verse says. And Daniel prospered. And that's a word to somebody. When you're a person of purpose, when you're a person of perception, when you're a person of principle, when you're a person of prayer, God will promote you. But not only will he promote you, he'll give you prosperity. Is there anybody here? No, God will take care of you. If you know it tonight and you're not ashamed, Grab somebody by the hand and say, God will. Oh, he will. Oh, he will. If there anybody else, know he will. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Oh, yeah. Up, up, up. Oh, yeah. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Have you tried it? Say yes. Say yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have you tried him? Oh, yeah. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Do you know he will? Don't fool me tonight. Grab somebody by the hand and say, God will. He will, I tell you. I'm trying to quit now. But you know I got my own enemies. But what I know about God is the more enemies you have, the Lord will let you climb a little higher. Every round goes higher. Say higher, higher, higher. Oh, yeah. Higher. He'll let you go higher. He'll let you go higher. Your enemies can't stop you. And listen, your enemies would leave you alone if they knew how much help they done gave you. Your enemies catapult you to prominence.